Good morning, y'all. Good to be here. Last time I was here in 2017, I was giving a keynote in a wheelchair, so it's nice to be able to stand and move. It feels good. All right. I'm going to teach y'all about spread and scale in an hour, 10 minutes, and we're going to make it really interactive. But first, I want to make it real. So those things you were just journaling about, you were talking about what do we want to share, what do we want to tell people, I want to put you in the situation of now we got to get everybody to do it. We got to get everybody to do this thing. It works, it's great, we got to get everyone to do it. Just put yourself, imagine that that's what you're charged with, which we hope you will do that at some point. Why would that be hard? So go ahead and turn and talk. Why would that be, what would make that hard to do? Why is it hard to get other people to adopt your innovative idea? So turn and talk for a second, and then I'll bring us back. But I want to keep it real. I want this to be applied.
So excited.
Yeah. How long have us Scott been doing it now?
We took 20 minutes.
Hey, if you can see me, raise your hands and stop talking. Right. You see me, raise your hands. And I'm going to use this throughout our time of raising hands to just kind of bring things back to the front. All right. Let's hear what's going to make it hard. Just popcorn. Raise your hand and yell it out or sign it out. Just, what is it? Apathy. All right. Do y'all do the thing where you snap if you resonate with something, or is that pre-pandemic? Okay. All right. Apathy. Yes. New things are scary. Anybody else got that? Okay. Yes. Anybody? Any others? Yes.
This kind of learning requires unlearning.
To do this, you have to unlearn something else. That makes it really hard. Anybody else have that? Okay. Yes. Paid time to process and implement it. Like the money, how to get it so it's paid. Anybody else got that? Man, that's hard. Okay, now I'm worried. No, just kidding. Yes. Fear. Big thing. Thank you. Fear. Yep, fear of change, fear of failure, right? Fear of all kinds of things. Anything else? Okay, what's that? Uncertainty. Welcome to reality. Right, uncertainty. Yes. So we do hope that you'll take these things, whatever it is. I know you're just at the very beginning of this process, but whatever it is, it'd be a shame if it was just contained, if it's something that's really useful and something that helps students have better lives and learn better and teachers be happier and administrators be happier. It'd be a shame if it were only contained to just you all. Ideally, it gets spread to everyone who could benefit. That's what we try to help people do. But you're not making it up. It is incredibly hard. They did a study in the UK and in the National Health Service, and they found that only 5% of large-scale change initiatives achieve their intended outcomes. So the odds are really low that you'll succeed. That's why I'm here. I'm going to help you. In the healthcare, everybody thought, like, if I could just get this published in a peer-reviewed journal, we're good. But they did a study that got published in a peer-reviewed journal that showed that it takes 17 years from the time something's published in a peer-reviewed journal till it benefits even half of the population, a whole generation, right? This stuff it can be incredibly slow, right? And then they did a study, and this was even before the pandemic, about the well-being of people in nonprofit and in education, and 42% of respondents said that their job was harmful to their mental health. And so you're like, hey, let's try something new. Sorry, I don't have any money. And they're like, are you kidding? I already need to go to therapy because of my job, right? So you're trying to work through people who are already maxed and stretched, and they're like, I'm not interested in the next new thing. I just want to go home to my family, right? Whatever it might be. So you're like, wait, I got better circle wheels, and they're like, we're good. All right? Like that's what it can really feel like. And what I want to do is both first show you that it actually is possible despite the odds being stacked against you, and give you an experiential way of knowing that in your bones. Like, what are we going to do differently when we go home? Anybody heard of Playworks? Anybody got Playworks in their community? Anybody else heard of Playworks? Basically, they make recess really amazing, and it started with Jill Violet in the East Bay in one school, and they're in 7,000. How many? 7,000 elementary schools using this spread and scale. So imagine, like, it's one place. She could have never imagined this one thing they did in one place would be in 7,000 elementary schools, right? Anybody like cats? Raise your hand if you like cats. Raise your hand if you hate cats. It's okay. All right, okay. So you're not going to like this one as much. Okay. Kate Hurley, Dr. Kate Hurley, she is a veterinarian, and she invented the field of shelter medicine, of kind of like public health for veterinarians. And she's like, I did not become a veterinarian to be putting cats to sleep, to be euthanizing cats all the time. She heard about all this stuff, and she launched a campaign to save 1 million cats from unnecessary euthanization, and they blew past that aim, right? So that, which is also just crazy to think that that's what's happening, and that's what veterinarians are having to do, right? The humanity of that. Okay, anybody ever heard of Deeper Learning Hub and Share Your Learning? The Share Your Learning campaign? So there's Mari right there, right? They got 5 million students to share their learning, and this, some of the techniques I'm going to teach you today are some of the Intel Inside embedded techniques for how you can get solutions to spread and scale. And it doesn't need to be 1 million or 7,000 schools. It can just be in one school or one district. In fact, sometimes it's harder to do it in a more contained geography because they all know you, and you got all the personalities and stuff. All right. So what I do, and what I've been doing for over a decade now, is helping people design and lead large-scale change. And we have a model for unleashing, and we define success as unleashing. And what I mean by that is orchestrating the loss of control of thousands of people you've never met, moving in the right direction. That's what we're trying to get. It's not perfection, like Randy was saying. We just want to get you started with something that's useful to you, and now you're in, right? Now you're in the cult, right? So it doesn't just happen. There's a technique to it. I don't know all the answers, but this is the model. It's not linear, but it creates a container within which unleashing might happen. And this is usually a 3-day training, and I'm condensing it into an hour. But the gist of what you got to do is you got to have a really good thing. It's got to be the circle wheels, not the square wheels. So whatever it is, you got to have your thing good, okay? That's digging deep into your solution. Then you've got to have an aim, right? You've got to have a how much by when. We'll talk about that more too. Then you've got to get leverage. You've got to, whatever it takes to get from 10 students to 100 students, you're going to have to do something different. From 1 classroom to 100 classrooms, you're doing different things than you yourself being the classroom teacher doing it, whatever that may be. And then you've got to take care of yourself, because having done this for many years, the number one thing that's going to blow it up and sabotage it and make it not work is our fears as leaders. Fear. It's our fears, whether it's need for recognition or exhaustion or imposter syndrome. All those things are the things that can hold us back. And I wrote a book about it that I'm going to give all of you at the end about that inner work that you need to do to keep that going. So that's my gift to you. All right. Let me see what else we got. So the reason I got into teaching everybody how to design and lead large-scale change was because I had the privilege of getting to design and lead from scratch a large-scale change initiative around homelessness in the United States. And I want to quickly tell you the story of that, so you can be like, okay, that's possible, the behind-the-scenes story. And then we're going to do an interactive exercise so you can get to see how fun and also how hard it can be to get large-scale change to happen. So the effort I led was called the 100,000 Homes Campaign, and I want to tell you the story from scratch in the next 10 or 15 minutes here. So this was me in 2002, and this is my dog, Romeo. And before this, I was actually a spy. I was a human intelligence agent, West Point grad. I was a spy in the Army. I had a cover story about what my job was, but I was also gay, so I was lying at my work about who I was. And then I was lying at home about what I did. And I was like, this is just dumb. So I got out of the Army to not have to do that anymore. And I had like a girlfriend, and then she dumped me really bad. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna get a puppy so I can stop feeling sorry for myself, okay? So that's my little puppy Romeo, and I was a stockbroker, which makes no sense. And I would drop my puppy off at this daycare place while I'd go, and they would train at Old Town School for Dogs. Anybody from Old Town in Virginia? Okay, well, anyways. So I'm driving home from this stupid job as a stockbroker, and I got this woman, Jane, calls me. She's crying, and she's like, Becky, your dog died. So my dog died. My puppy died. Sorry, I know this is trauma. I'm sorry. I should have totally given a trigger warning. So my freaking dog died, y'all, okay? So I took the next day off work, and I went to Misha's in Old Town, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I felt ambivalent about my military service. I'm really honest about the ways the United States Army is deployed in the world. I wasn't really excited about being a stockbroker, but I had this call to service in some way. And I was like, that day, I was like, I don't care what I do. I just have to have no ambivalence about it, and I'm going to throw myself into my work. I don't care, right? I'll do anything. It's because I have no ambivalence. And actually, what I thought I was going to do was a program called Troops to Teachers. I wanted to be a teacher. So, and I kind of am. Look what I'm doing right now. Just not in a classroom in those ways. So anyways, I get this call. I told my West Point professor, who I was still in touch with, hey, man, I just want to do something I have no ambivalence about. And he was like, okay. That night, he ran into Roseanne Haggerty, this woman here, at some Japan Society dinner. And she was like, I want to get street homelessness down by 2/3 in 3 years in Times Square of New York City, and I think I want a person with a military background to lead that effort, which makes no sense. And Jay was like, Becky should do it, And so he called me the next day, and he was like, Becky, put your pencil down, which is what they say at West Point, put your pencil down, cease work. And I dropped my pencil. He was like, stop everything you're doing and call Roseanne Haggerty. And I called her, and I was like, Jay Parker told me to call you. And she was like, you want to get street homelessness down by 2/3 in 3 years? And I was like, yeah, why not? I didn't know anything about it, okay? I didn't know anything about it. And Roseanne's theory of change, she had gotten the idea from the UK, where they had gotten what they called rough sleeping down by 75% in 4 years. And she was like, go over to England and see what they did, and then come do it here in Times Square. And she thought that it all was missing was the connective tissue between the different organizations. There are 30 organizations in Times Square. Let me show you what it looked like. Anybody been to New York City? It's basically from 23rd Street up to Central Park at 59th and the whole left side of the city, the west side of the city. There were 30 organizations that had government funding to help homeless people in that area, but none of them was it their job to actually move people into housing. And Roseanne's theory of change was like, we just need to hire someone to knit together the connective tissue. Like, she had probably read that from Malcolm Gladwell or something. And like, that was the buzzword at the time, connective tissue. And I went to all those 30 organizations and I was like, I'm here. Let's knit together some connective tissue. And they were like, fuck you, HIPAA, which is just like, the HIPAA had just become out as law. And they're like, we can't coordinate. We can't talk about anything. And I was like, what the fuck is HIPAA? And they were like, and then what I learned was they just had to sign something and then we could talk, but nobody, you know what I mean? Like, I was such a dummy because I wasn't in the work all the time that I had such a beginner's mind that was actually really helpful. But about 6 months into it, I was like, you cannot add up what these 30 organizations are doing and have it end up anything remotely that gets somebody off the streets. It's just giving people socks and meals and trying to get them to do substance abuse treatment that they don't want to do, that, and so I was like, what if we just moved them in? There's this thing called Housing First that Sam Sambaris was doing. I was like, why don't we just try that? And she's like, well, where would we put them? And I was like, I don't know. You just got the MacArthur Genius Award for having like the most supportive housing in the world. Like, she had 2,000 units of housing. And I was like, what about here? And she was like, that's crazy. And I was like, I know. And because everybody thought at the time that the only way someone could move off the streets and into housing was if they were ready for housing, which is total crap, okay? Like, raise your hand if you know someone with alcoholism in a home, like I do, right? Okay, so she was like, okay, we're gonna try 20. And then our COO of the organization was like, 0. And she was like, 18, and he was like, 2, and they agreed we could let 10 people in directly off the streets, and they were gonna see how it was, which is just bananas. It seems so bananas that I'm telling you this story. Anyways, move people in, everybody's fine, everybody's good, right? Housing actually resolves homelessness. That should not be shocking to anybody. And then we were like, okay, let's get people directly off the streets into housing. They don't have to go through, we had to unlearn stuff. We had to unlearn this whole mindset of people have to be ready for housing. And the first year, me and my, like, AmeriCorps, right? There was no money for this. Me and an AmeriCorps and one other person, we helped 40 people get off the streets into housing, basically by bypassing the shelter system that they didn't want to go into. And we were like, yeah, we're amazing. And we went out in the middle of the night to count, which is when this is done, right? And she had hired me to reduce street homelessness by 2/3 in 3 years. That's what I was being held accountable for. But I'm like, we moved 40 people in. We went out the first year and we counted, and there were 17% more people sleeping outside. And I was like, but we still house 40 people. And she was like, I hired you to get street homelessness down by 2/3 in 3 years. And I was like, don't I get an A for effort? And she's like, no, right? Go figure out how to get street homelessness down by 2/3 in 3 years. So then we were like, well, who the heck is sleeping outside anyways? So then we changed our hours to going out from 4 to 6 a.m. for about 6 weeks to get the names and photographs and situations of everybody outside. Meanwhile, I met this doctor from Boston, Jim O'Connell with Pine Street Inn, and he showed me this picture. So he was like, Becky, look at this picture. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I took this picture 7 years ago. He's like, look at these people. They look all right to you? And I was like, yeah, they look all right. He's like, only one of them's still alive. And I was like, what, are you kidding me? And so he's like, yeah, we did this study in Boston, and street homelessness is just as lethal as some forms of cancer. And certain conditions make you much more higher risk for dying. And I was like, well, we got to integrate that into our triage, basically. So what we started doing, we called it a vulnerability index. And we started methodically going out from like 5 to 7 a.m., finding out exactly who was sleeping outside, getting their names, getting their photographs with their permission, and then asking them, do you have these situations that would put you at a high risk for dying? And we prioritized all of our efforts, like we're going to do whatever it takes, to move these people into housing. And when we started doing that, that's when we started seeing homelessness in Times Square go down, because we were getting the people in who everybody else had given up on, had been outside for decades. And then we moved one guy in, and everybody knew that he had been there forever. And they were like, you helped Jim? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, well, I know you can help me if you can help him, because he was worse than me. So then our job got really easy, and we were moving people in really fast. We didn't have to talk them into it because they had just seen it work. Social referencing, we'll talk about that more later. All right, so we did get street homelessness down to where there was only one person left. She gave me 3 years, it took 4 years, but we got street homelessness down by 87%. And the New York Times, their headquarters is right in that area, and they wrote an article that said there's only one person homeless in Times Square anymore. And they did a story about Heavy, and we knew Heavy. And Heavy just would not budge from his spot right outside the New York Times, actually. And one day we saw him putting dishwashing detergent in his eyes. And we used that as an excuse to get him involuntary committed. Like, basically, at some point, that's your only lever, is someone's a harm to self or others. We were like, okay, he's going to lose his eyesight. It was a little bit of exaggeration. Get him in the hospital and go visit him the next day. And Heavy's like, what took y'all so long? He was mad at us. And we're like, dude, we went to you every day. So then I knew in my bones, like, there is nobody out there that we can't help get into housing. Like, there's no excuse. I knew it in my bones. You could not convince me otherwise. Because all the time, people are like, don't some people want to be homeless? And I was like, no, you're just asking the wrong questions, So I knew that in my bones. Then Los Angeles called, Skid Row in Los Angeles, which was way worse than Times Square. And they had a city and a county, and they all hated each other. But the one thing they could agree on was, like, let's go get our most vulnerable people on Skid Row into housing. So it's me and my friend, Bess Sandor. We went out for 9 mornings in a row from 4 to 6 a.m. on Skid Row, 10 times as many people sleeping outside. But we found the 50 most vulnerable people with them. And I was like, okay, now you've got your 50 most vulnerable people. Now I need to help you design your staffing and your operating and do it just like we did in Times Square. And they were like, no, we got this. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I'm my little control freak. Is anybody here a control freak? Okay. I was like, no, you got to do it our way. And they were like, shut up, go back to New York. And I turned around, and you know how it took me like a year to move 40 people into housing? They did it in like 4 weeks. They were just like, boom. Then I was like, what? How'd you do that? So I'll have through this story many humbling moments where I needed to not be so in love with my double IPA and just be like, okay, great, just use this index, right? At the presentation where we shared, here's the 50 people who are going to die if you don't do something different, it was a motivator. There was a team in the back of the room from Santa Monica, They came up to me afterwards and they were like, will you come do this in Santa Monica? And I was like, you can just have our scoring algorithm, you can just have it. And they were like, no, we want you to come. And I was like, all right, is winter is better in Santa Monica. So I went to Santa Monica and we started getting it down to a thing where we train volunteers on Monday, right? And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they'd go out and survey everybody. Me and Beth would do the data entry. Friday, we'd turn around and do a presentation to a room just like this. We'd show the pictures, and we'd be like, if you don't do something, these people are going to die. And then everybody start crying, and then they move people into housing. And then we'd just mic drop and go to the next town. Like everybody and we were like, they kept doing it better than we were doing it in New York City. And we were like, this is cool. Actually, San Diego right here, it started growing to where more and more volunteers would come out. In Santa Barbara, they had 500 volunteers, but this was 125 volunteers all going out. It just started snowballing into this thing. And me and Beth were like, the only way this complicated volunteer thing could work is if we're right there doing it with them. But when we walked into San Diego, it was the most anal retentive organized thing I've ever seen. Like lanyards, and all the folders had little, like labels on them, and there were stations. And I was like, what happened here? Why is this so organized? And they're like, oh, we went and saw what you did 2 weeks ago. We sent 2 people, and then we just got it organized. And I was like, oh, I guess you don't need me for this either. Right? I just kept, but when you're doing the thing, it's hard to articulate what you're doing. Right? It's a whole different thing. So I said, will you write down what you did to do this stuff? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. They wrote it down and they put it in a binder. They put it in a notebook, this one notebook. And it was complicated about how you download the photos and all this stuff. And here's the survey questions, and here's the data, and here's the algorithm. But they put it all in a notebook and a CD-ROM. That's the days. Okay? So I'm just doing registry weeks with whoever will have me. Roseanne's like, go rock on, do these things. And eventually, we were like, what if we were proactive about this? We had heard about the 100,000 Lives campaign. What if we did a campaign to get 100,000 people in housing? So in July 2010, at our sector's conference in front of thousands of people, we were like, we're going to help 100,000 people who've been out there the longest, who are the highest risk of dying, using our vulnerability index, get into housing by July 2013. And no one had ever done any kind of large scale, how much by when like that, ever in our sector. I was totally putting myself out there, risking failure by doing this, but I just put my whole self into doing this and only this. Okay, this is about 2 months later. I was so tired. I was doing the registry week in Albuquerque, and we had invited other cities to come do it with us and stay afterwards for a day for a training. And I was so tired and so exhausted, I couldn't even wake up. Like, I was literally, they were posting pictures of me online, being like, Becky won't wake up, ha ha ha. And I was like, no, really, I'm that burnt out. Because I believed you needed me, right? But what we're trying to do with large-scale change, ultimately, is wean everybody off of us and give them each other. And we'll see that play out later, right? We finally got enough data. My theory was like, hey, just keep doing these registry weeks and people keep crying and then they'll change how they see things and they'll move people into housing. Let's go, let's do this, right? But we finally got enough money to hire someone to look at our data, and he was like, Becky, I got good news and bad news. I was like, give me the bad news. He's like, you're on track to be the 30,000 homes campaign. And I was like, that's really bad, because I had just gotten this tattoo. I had gotten a tattoo with the last 0 missing when the 10,000th person moved in. And I was like, now I'm going to have this really stupid tattoo the rest of my life, And he was like, well, this is what you need to do. You need to keep doing these registry weeks, but you've also got to help people double the rate at which they're moving people into housing. So I was like, wait, what? Double? Like, we were just happy anybody would talk to us at all. Now we got to go back to them and say, can you double it? But we made it a game. We turned it into a game. We're like, let's all get together. These are all little magnetic tiles. Let's map your really stupid process that's designed to make sure nobody ever gets housed ever, and then let's fix it, right? So we turned it into like a quality improvement game, and cities reduced it from like 40 steps down to 10. They came together across agencies. One city, Fresno, quadrupled the rate at which they moved people into housing over a 100-day period, right? We worked with the Rapid Results Institute to do that. I didn't have any idea when I started this that this was the problem we were going to have to solve, right? So part of why I'm sharing this is, as you're doing large-scale change, you commit to the aim, But then as you're committing to the aim, new things are going to surface, and you're like, we got to fix that too, right? Especially when you're working in these complex systems. All right, this was the best, worst day of the campaign. I got a Google alert that with this, Hilo Hawaii does their 100,000 homes campaign. And I was like, I don't know anybody in Hilo. Who are these turkeys, you know? And at the very end, it was like, Brandy blah, blah, blah is in charge of this effort. And I was like, who the hell are they? And why are they? Because I got this tattoo, and if they're going to be doing this, I at least want to know about it so I can get to the last zero on my tattoo, you know? So for 2 weeks, I called this woman Brandy and left her a voicemail like, hey, I'm the director of this thing you're doing. And she didn't care about me. It wasn't nothing to her. But then they made a video, and it was like this textbook registry week. It's better than if me and Beth had been there ourselves. So I finally get Brandy on the phone. I'm like, girl, you're doing my thing. And I'm like, by the way, it was really good. How'd you learn how to do that? And she was like, oh, Sophia gave me the notebook. And I was like, who's Sophia? Sophia came to the training in Albuquerque where we did this years prior. And I swear to God, she sat in the very back and she slept through the whole training. Okay? So not only do you not need me and Beth there, you don't need to come to the training. You just need someone to meet you at Starbucks and give you the notebook. Okay? So like that's what we're trying to create, are these structures where people can share what to do with each other, where you don't need to be there. So I was actually pissed for like a week about this, but this was like the best day. I slept in. People in Hawaii, I never met them, are doing my thing better than if I were there myself. That's the dream. That's what we're trying to get, unleashing. People you've never met are moving in the right direction, right? And I got my beauty rest because Lord knows I need that. Okay, so eventually, we needed one more year than we originally thought, but we got to where I got to unveil and say the 100,000 person moved into housing. It was definitely a highlight, but I wanted to give you a little bit of like, it wasn't all rainbows and unicorns, okay? Roseanne and the team, they continued with a new effort while I peeled off and started the Billions Institute to help other people do large-scale change in climate change, education, healthcare. They got the 100 million and change award to keep going. So this started from this little bitty $75,000 grant from JP Morgan Chase to $100 million now to work with other cities. So, you know, this is what it looks on the outside, but this can be what it looks like on the inside, okay? So the things we're gonna do in this next bit of time that we have together is I hope you get this, not this, okay? I'm gonna help you avoid some of the mistakes I made, all right? So y'all ready? You ready to like actually experientially in your bodies get to do a large-scale change initiative? Okay, because we're about to turn this into a chaos Muppet scene. It's about to be just sheer utter chaos in here. So I'm gonna ask you, if I say, you know, if you can see me, raise your hands. That means like to like kind of slow up what you're doing and raise your hands, but also stop talking part, right? So as you see other people doing that way we can keep the learning moving. Because even though this is going to be like really fun, there's some lessons I want to pull out for you to take home with you. Okay? Okay. So this involves tennis balls, 3 to be exact, and we're going to have you doing some things. So we've got 16 tables, I believe. And does any table, take out your mentors, does any table have less than 5 people? No? Does any table have more than 9 people? Why don't you take your mentors out? You have more than 9 with your mentor? Okay, pick the person you like the least. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. And no. Do rock, scissors, paper or something, but one person needs to be on another team probably. But I thought there was no team with more than 9. Well, take out the mentors. Yeah, take out the mentors. You should be good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8. Perfect. 8. 8's good. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what table numbers you are too, and that's going to matter, okay? Because we're going to be doing this. So you're table 1, table 2. Count off with me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 teams? Wait, do y'all have enough? What's that? Okay, good. Okay. You got your table numbers? You're going to need to remember that. Okay. Each table is going to need to assign a timekeeper Hold on, you got it. A timekeeper and a data runner. The timekeeper needs to have a phone or something where they can time the process, and the data runner needs to be able to make their way from wherever you are up to my laptop at that podium right there for data entry. So talk amongst yourself, just real quick, who's going to be the timekeeper, who's going to be the data runner? And coaches, can I get the coaches to come up here?
I've got cool water also. Oh, you've got that.
Yeah, thank you. We just need 3 balls. We just need 3 balls for this. Here, yeah, I'll take the 3. And you can put your balls down. Okay? All right, if you can see me, raise your hands. Okay, thank you. All right, do I have all the mentors up here? All right. Can y'all arrange yourselves kind of in a circle? We're going to demonstrate what you're going to do, okay? But nobody poke an eye out or fall off the stage. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is stand in a circle, and then we're going to count off. Wendy, let's start with you. You're 1,
4, 5, 6,
7, 8,
9. So they have 9 people. You're going to count off 2, and you might have a different number. We're going to use, if it's 9 people, we're going to use the sequence here on the far right. If it's 8 people, you're going to use the 8 people sequence. Down to 5 people, you're going to do the 5 people sequence. Okay? I'll read it off for y'all. Okay? All right. So, but Wendy, let's start with you. Okay, now here's the instructions. I'll be your timekeeper. I'll be your timekeeper. I'm a multitask. Some rad like that. Okay. Stopwatch. Okay. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to pass 1 ball in the sequence provided. As soon as the ball leaves Wendy's hands, I'm going to hit start, and as soon as it comes back to her hands, I'm going to hit stop. Now, if it falls or bounces off stage or whatever, the clock keeps running, and the time is what the time is in seconds, just so we're doing apples to apples, okay? So, I'll call it off, and we're going to get your baseline time, okay? All right. On your mark, get set, go. 1 to 5 to 9 to 3 to 7 to 2 to 6 to 4 to 8, back to 1. Stop. Okay, that took 11.35 seconds. Okay? All right? Y'all did really good. We didn't even practice this. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Nobody's ever just doing one thing at a time. We're all always multitasking, okay? So now the actual thing is the same sequence, but with 3 balls. 1 ball at a time. So it's ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, same sequence, okay? And if it bounces off, just pick it up and keep going. Don't cry, it's going to be okay. I know. Okay. Oh, don't do any changes. Yeah. Okay, ready? On the count of 3. Okay, on your mark, get set, go. You're doing pretty good, I got to say. Y'all watching, this is what you're going to do, okay? It's okay. Till. Okay, all right. Okay, round of applause. 16.06 seconds, and their data runner would run that over to that laptop, okay? That's the process, okay? So it's and what I want you to do to connect the dots on that, this thing they're doing is kind of, let's connect it to the thing that you're thinking you want to share when you get back, okay? It's the process, okay? Go back to your tables, take the balls. Don't give them the balls yet, though. Hold on, okay.
Those are my jobs.
We're going to have fun talking about balls for the next half hour. Okay. Okay, if you can see me, raise your hands. Okay. All right, so I'm going to read this with you so I don't screw it up, okay? Your current process involves passing 3 tennis balls in the same order from person to person, following the sequence provided. I'll put this back up, okay? From person 1, passes it to person 3, 5, until it's back to 1. practice your process one time, and then coaches, take away the balls, okay? After one time, I'm like, be rabid about taking away the balls, okay? And then timekeeper, you're gonna see how long it takes, and data runner, you're gonna run the data up here to Nancy. Nancy's gonna be putting it in by the team, and we'll project that so everybody can see how everybody's doing. And then coaches, take away the balls as soon as the team has had one try, and then we're gonna reconvene and we're gonna talk about what we did, okay? And we're gonna connect this to taking this home. Any questions? Yes, Wendy. Yeah, you can move anywhere you want to in these spaces. Just remember your data run. You can move that flip chart out of the way. Make.
7, 5, 6, 1. Just one?
No, one.
Just one right here. Here we go. Am I reading that off? You guys okay? Yeah. Adult. 4, 6.
Can we do 3 at once?
No.
2 at once?
Oh,
Which first time?
That first ball came quicker than I thought. I was trying to set the phone down.
Yeah.
We've got, I think the fastest was table 12 at 5 seconds. No, table 9 at 1.3? Is that right? Or was it 63? 63. Table 9 at 63. Okay, sorry. Okay. All right. Okay, so the fastest was table 12. Table 12 at 5 seconds. Okay, right there. And then the slowest was table 7 at 49. I love that you have the 0.79. That's great. Okay, 49.79. But that's good, right? Like we're testing, we're trying things. But if I gave you unlimited, if I gave you 10 minutes unfettered, nobody bugging you and saying, raise your hands if you see me or anything like that, right? Right? How fast do you think you could get this process down to? So I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes, and I want you to have a discussion as a team for a new aim. And when you have that new aim, if you have it quick, bring it up, and Nancy will enter it in for your team. Okay, 3 minutes starts now.
Like this. Put our hair like this. You did faster.
They did not say anything.
Let's do it again.
All right,
Ready? Go.
Does have unlimited tries?
Does it have to go in my
How much
hand,
you
or
want?
can I
Yeah?
just grab it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's one? Who's one? Maybe for everyone. Yeah? Okay. Okay. 2, starting.
Wait, are we starting?
Wait, stop.
Yes.
Stop. Hey, did you go to the third one?
third time.
Okay, again. When did...
Just one hand.
All right, bring your aim up.
4 seconds. Sure.
All right, if you can see me, raise your hands, please. And I have facilitated this exercise hundreds of times with people from every continent except Antarctica, and that is true. I'm not pulling your legs. This is not a trick. Okay, I'm not messing with you. I might do that later, but I'm not doing it now. Okay? What if I told you that every team I've ever facilitated but one has gotten it down to under 1 second with 10 minutes? What if I told you that? So the mentors are about to give you the balls and all hell's about to break loose. But you've got 10 minutes. Promise me each run, each test, you're going to bring your data up here, even if it was a bust, even if it was 49 seconds again, and the ball rolls out the room, come up here and put your data up here.
Ready? Set, go. Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. So, we can.
Yeah, David might
Sorry, I'm gonna touch your phone. Wait, so you gotta go around. Yeah, come over around.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Ready?
Okay, the clock is ticking, 10 minutes.
Go. It's okay.
We gotta tape them together.
Does it say that we have to
Yeah, when you said.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Very fluid.
Oh, you can ask me.
Whoever got 0.89 seconds. Yeah, they're
Just closer together.
All that data gone.
.11. Okay, great. You got about 30 seconds.
Yeah. Team 12, we got 0.25.
Nice. Okay, so everybody.
We went back up.
Uh-huh. What about team 2?
No, that's us. Ours got mixed up somehow.
Okay.
We're the 0.14 on team 3.
Okay.
That's team 2.
Okay. Okay. What about team 1? What about team 1? Team 1 and team 5. Yay. Just make it go. Yeah. All right. Okay, time's up. Time's up. Go ahead, you can find your ways back to your seats. Did team 1 ever get it? Where's team 1? Did y'all ever get it? Team 1, you didn't get the under 1 second? Okay, that's interesting. All right. Okay. Yeah, and just highlight the first time they got it. Just highlight the first time they got it. Okay, this is the most fascinating laboratory in large-scale change. Okay. Let's just look at what happened. Let's look at the data, okay? And listen, this is exactly what's going to happen when you go back and you're like, we got this great thing. Y'all want to try it? And people are, and this is the exact types of things. These are the dynamics. And I want you to see the dynamics, partially because it's kind of funny, but partially because this is what we have to design around if we want to get large-scale change, okay? So let's just face into the data together. So I can say officially that now I've done it hundreds of times, and there's 2 teams that have not gotten it under 1 second. So congratulations, table 1. But you just stopped. You're just sitting there, and there was still time on the clock. What happened? So this is interesting. They thought they could only do 11. All I said was you have 10 minutes, right? So you could have kept going, but you didn't know. Right? And so the structure made it look like you should stop, but nobody told you to stop. Okay? So that's something that's going to happen. People are like, I didn't know we could do this. Right? That happens. That totally happens. Okay. So, okay. All right. Team 2 got it down in, it looks like close quickly. Team 3 got it and kept going. Team 4 got it and kept going. Team 5, what happened, Team 5? Team 5, where are you? What happened? I saw you. What happened? They were. No, the goal was everybody in the room get to under 1 second. Got to a consistent 1.6. They're the people that walked around West Point being like, if a D wasn't good enough, it wouldn't be passing. All right? Okay. So then team 6, you got it. Team 7, 8, you got it. Okay. Now look here. Team 14 got it on the 3rd try. Where's team 14? Right? This is going to happen too. Team 14 got it. Now, did anybody see up here when you were coming and bringing the data, oh my God, someone already got it? Someone already got it. Anybody notice that? Okay, what did you do when you noticed someone else already got it? What did you do? You thought bullshit. Totally, that's going to happen too. Not going to work here. Yeah. Yeah, share your secret. Wait, that's the team that got it so fast? No. This team. This team. Okay, it gave you more confidence to pursue an idea. Was it because you went and saw what they did? You knew it could be done. You knew it could be done, not just because I said it, because it happened in the room. Okay, it gave you more confidence knowing it could be done. Did anybody go look and see where's table 14? What did they do? Okay, did anybody pay attention at all when someone came and got the microphone and said, here's what actually works? You did. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yes? Okay. Okay? All right. All of these things that we just saw on display are things that are going to happen when you're trying to spread and scale your thing, right? So this is a perfect almost replica of the human, the group, the social dynamics that are going to happen. And I want to kind of break it down a little bit, because you can imagine you've got this wonderful, great solution and you want everybody to use it, and then they're going to be like, I don't know, we only got 10 tries, like, I don't know, I guess we should quit, right? Or they're going to be like, well, we got ours. We don't care about everybody else, right? Or they're going to be like, oh, I thought the goal was just our team. Like, and people be like, we're just going to keep and make ours better. But remember, the goal was everybody's is better, right? And so you're going to have people who are like, hey, this is how you do it. And it's either, some people are going to find that there's going to get confidence that it can be done. And some people are going to be like, bullshit, it's not going to work here. All of these things are 100% built into it. And when I want to show you some structural things that's like the medicine behind what actually makes things work, I want to draw these lessons so you can do these when you go home. All right, so I got to change slides here 1 second. Hey, Nikki, how you doing? That's my buddy up there. All right, hold on here. Okay, I lost the little thingamajig. Okay. Where's my clicker? Okay. Okay. Da, 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 da. Nancy, how many times have I said okay? All right. Remember I said, does anybody oppose that the aim is everybody? Everybody in the room gets this, right? Now, I did impose that, okay? I just want to honor that I imposed that, okay? Imagine you've got to spread and scale this, right? Given what you've just experienced, what do you want to bear in mind when you've got this great idea that nobody cares, okay? All right, so first you need something worth spreading. You need to know it works. You need the confidence that I had in my bones. We can house everybody, we can house anybody, right? So you need to know that your thing is actually really, really good. Everett Rogers talks about, round wheels versus square wheels. Everett Rogers in his book, Diffusion of Innovations, which don't read this, just come talk to me, because it's really thick and geeky. But basically, he's like, there's 5 things that make it more likely that someone's going to pick up what you're putting down, right? One is relative advantage, which means it's just better than the way things used to be. You've got to frame it in terms of like, this thing is better than what we used to do because of these reasons. That's really important. It's also got to be compatible with what people think is possible. So when you saw, like, it can be done in this room, that was a compatibility play. It now works within your schema of what's possible, right? They need to know it's possible. Simple scales much easier than complex. So when you came up and you're like, just make your hands go like this, people are like, oh, we can do that, right? Trialable means someone can try it without having to buy it, like how you take a car for a test drive. Like, here, just try it, see if it works. Make it really easy for people to try it. And observable, which means people can come look over your shoulder and see how you're doing it, right? So if I were setting this up and I were being a control freak, I would have you do one test at a time, and as soon as one team got it down to under a second, I'd be like, everybody, let's go watch what Team 14 did. Boom, done, right? Okay. Next thing you need to take home is a co-created shared aim, and you don't want it to be imposed. I tried to impose a less than 1 second aim, and they didn't care. They didn't own it. They didn't feel it. And I didn't actually see any teams, or a couple teams were like, oh, the aim was everybody let me help. But people forget that, right? So it's important to get consensus on aims. Other than that, consensus just kills anything. It takes too long. But you do want consensus on aims. I want to show you the one time, other than y'all, what happened. This was with the NHS, where they're really used to people telling them what their aims are. It's a high, thick with quality improvement, 8th largest bureaucracy in the world. I've been training over there for years. And this is the one team that didn't get it under a second, okay? I want to show you, that just kind of shocked me. You can't really hear the noise, but what happened was, everyone in the room was like, yeah, we're going to get it under a second. And this team was like, our aim is how long can we juggle it? And I was like, wait, what? And like they had no F's about my aim, right? Because so if you're in too much of a top-down system where it's like it gets imposed, you're going to get rebelliousness, actually, is what you're going to get, right? So the time it takes up front to get people like bought in is totally worth it. Okay, you need a culture where people can try things and fail things, and that's okay, and they're not going to get in trouble. So I hope we had that here, right? But it's not as easy to create at home. You want a drumbeat of rapid testing, try, collect, reflect, right? Try it, bring it up, and even if it's a total bomb and it's 49 seconds, that's important for you to be like, hey, everybody, don't do this stupid thing that we did. That's actually more helpful to me sometimes than what actually worked, was avoiding the stupid thing. You want an easy way to get useful data, and that's probably going to be one of your biggest challenges in the work that you're doing, but I just literally a couple days ago flew out of Heathrow and I went through the security, and I got this little thing. How'd we do? Happy face, frowny face. Like, why not have something that simple on the way out of the classroom, right? Or I've seen it where people have marbles and a little happy face, sad face, small face, and everybody puts a marble in a basket of where their face is. Like, you can really, especially with young people, create really simple, straightforward ways to get good data over time. And you want transparency of results over the team. So data over time, and you want to create it where everyone can see how everyone's doing. And you want to create it where people are like, how'd you do that? Because what we learn in school, right, is to hide our answers. I've seen this before where teams hide their answers, don't let anybody see. You want to create a space where people are like excited to share the good, bad, and the ugly. And then you need an intentional structure, which we did not have, right? But this is the most important part, is an intentional structure for sharing tacit, how to do it knowledge. Remember my notebook? Right? Like the notebook is articulating how you do it. That's all I needed was a notebook. Turns out I didn't need to lose all that sleep, right? So if your car breaks down, do you want to read a book or do you want to just talk to a mechanic? Nobody wants to read a book. I mean, maybe one or two of you here do. You want to talk to someone who knows how to do it, but you've got to create an infrastructure where that's going to happen. Here's some of the ones that are really potentially relevant in your situation. One of them is called a sprint. The sprint is perfect for rapid prototyping, and it's like, we're just going to keep trying things, and we're going to share what we do. You were basically doing a sprint right here. This is the Extinction Rebellion in the UK, where they're like, we're going to do whatever it takes to get to net zero, to no fossil fuels. If we have to shut down the roads, we'll shut down the roads. If that doesn't work, we'll try something else. It's a willingness to try whatever it takes. Another really good infrastructure to get people sharing tacit data, this is called a fishbowl. Dr. Paul Farmer died too early, brilliant genius in preventing or treating infectious diseases, especially in poor countries. Everybody wanted him to come show us how you do it. And he was like, I'm busy in Rwanda. You want to see how I do it? He built a dormitory. Actually, it's what High Tech High did. They built a graduate school of education right next to an elementary school. Why don't you come see how we run an elementary school, and then let's talk about it, right? This is a fishbowl. Right here, you're in a fishbowl. But with Paul Farmer, he was like, come to Rwanda and watch how we do it. Okay, come to Table 14 and watch how they do it, right? Extension agency comes from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is where one person has like, okay, these are the seeds that are really going to go good this year, and they go from you and they go to you. So imagine when Team 14, when they had gotten their goal, if instead of trying to get better, which is human nature, right? I always see that. People are like, no, let's get better. We can do better, right? What if they had split up and each of them had gone and told two teams what to do? That would be an extension agency. It doesn't happen naturally. It very rarely happens naturally. Somebody towards the end was like, hey, we're going to give you the solution. That was great. That did happen as we went going, but it was further down. And actually, it's very rare for that to happen. I'm really impressed that happened. I want to tell one funny story. One time, the minute I set this exercise off, like the minute, someone came up to me, and I always just improv it to see what happens. And this one was like, can I have the microphone? Can I have the microphone? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, everybody, here's the answer. And she told him exactly what to do. And I was like, that is the answer. And I was like, this is fascinating. Like, how's this exercise? How am I going to be able to teach people these dynamics? When someone just gave away the answer at the very beginning, guess what happened? They booed her and they ignored her. They're like, boo. And then they just went and did their dumb thing that didn't work. Okay. And I was like, that was the answer, right? So I'm telling you, this stuff is not easy. You can have exactly the right answer and people will ignore you, right? Okay, one other thing that can work is social referencing. Everybody else is doing it. You got to have more than half of the population so you can really, truly be saying, like, look, most people are doing this. And what that does is people are like, well, I don't want to be left out, right? You're appealing to that part of human nature. Roseanne did that with me, where she was like, well, England got it down. Well, now I want you to do that, right? So what you have to worry about is like, well, it wasn't invented here, but then come see it. Come see it, and then you got to create room for adaptability. Make it your own. Okay. So I want to give you a little bit of time to talk about at your tables what lessons from this, and I'll leave these up, but what lessons from this do you want to take with you as you go back and you want to take whatever it is that you're designing here and share it with other people? So let's take a couple. Randy, what do you say, like 3 to 5 minutes to talk amongst themselves? Okay, so here's the list of the things I was trying to share with you, but what do you want to remember when you go home? Okay, we'll take 5 minutes and discuss that, and then I think we'll wrap it up. If you have any questions, I'll be milling about. Thank you all for doing that exercise too. Thank you for jumping in on the learning. All right, so thank you. Okay, take 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up after that. All right, any questions before we move on? Any questions about this or how to take these principles home? All right. The more you can create spaces where people can actually play and have fun, you can get some really good learning happening for that, if you can create a safe space for people to try things, okay? All right, I'm gifting everybody a copy of my book in the back. I'm going to toot my own horn for a second. Thank you. It won the Independent Book Award, Golden Award for Career in 2022. So it's got really helpful advice for leading change, organizational dynamics. If you want to stalk me, here's my email. I'm much better with text, so there's my phone number. Call me anytime. We'll talk. If there's things in the book that are interesting to you, give me a ring. But thank you all for having me. It's been a real delight. It's been an honor to get to facilitate your learning in this way. Love to hear from you anytime. High Tech High, thank you for having me, Randy. I love you guys. I love what you're doing. May all of your work thrive and be wonderful, and have a great rest of your time here.